All right, so we're continuing our series on Subaru 360 sedans, and somebody just came over here and wanted a pet. Who wants a pet? You? Really? I never would have guessed. So we're going to get back to working on Subaru 360s. We can pet the dog at any time, although she seems to be needing a lot of love right now. So with Subaru 360s in the pandemic, I don't get it, but somebody's told me they've tripled in value in the last year, which is crazy. These cars have been what I thought undervalued for many, many years. They're cheap, they're ugly. I guess that's kind of why I got into them, is that they were cheap and ugly and kind of fun. And that seems like it's the last frontier of cheap cars that are fun. I don't know. Anyhow, there's been a few sales lately and everybody's all excited about these things, and now everybody wants to work on them and everybody wants to know about them. It's like they're new all over again. What's new is old, right? Or what's old is new, yeah, something like that. So we did a tutorial on the e-brakes and the rear brakes of this car, and now we're going to take a look at the front. So when you get the hubcap off the front of your Subaru 360, whether it's a van, truck, or car, you will find a center cap, a dust cap with 3 screws that are Phillips head. I've already taken those off. Once you remove it, you can see that the dust cap contains grease. That is the original grease, people, from 1969. So most likely these bearings need to be greased at the very least. This car is in for an inspection and making it roadworthy again. I think we should probably grease the bearings. So I'm going to grab my wrench, and you'll notice there's a lock tab right there. Not much of a lock tab. I'm going to just spin this off real quickly here, and we'll show you what the front brakes look like on a Subaru 360 car, truck, or van. They're all very similar. The van and the trucks have heavier duty brakes and drums, but they're all the same. So once we've got our nut off and our washer off, get those off, put them down in our parts bin. There is another washer that's got like a little key that fits in the, shake the wheel a little bit so I can get that, show you what I'm talking about here. So the spindle has a little trough in it, and that little tab fits in there. See that there? And the bearing is, of course, right there, and that's probably gonna pop off here in a second. Once I get the wheel shake off. Oh, come on. Of course it will. There we go. Spun it a little bit. Okay, so the bearing just fell in my hand. It needs to be greased, I can tell you right there. So that bearing goes into a steel race, which is in the center of the aluminum fin drum. Put that down there, and now we can take the wheel off and we can look at the brakes. Okay, so our wheel's on the ground. We're looking at a couple things here. Right off the bat, I noticed a couple things wrong. These springs are supposed to be tucked behind those tabs. Puts more tension on them to keep the brake pads retracted. Quite a bit of rust on this shoe here, which probably indicates that the drum is rusted, and it is. This car hasn't been used much. You can see that there's 2 types of rust. There's the bright orange rust, which is recent from moisture, and there's deep pitted rust within the steel liner on the aluminum finned drum. So this car has not been used much. You can see that there was a shoe that was stuck in this position for a long time. We need to polish that out to make it a good stopping car. That's another tip for you. But the reason we're in here is, I think I showed you before that these star wheel adjusters are accessed through the drum holes. There's one hole that's kind of elongated that shows you the distance between the shoe and the drum right here and how far you need to adjust it. And then the other hole, which is a little higher and rounder, will adjust these. And on the right side of the car, you would go down. On the left side of the car, you would go up. And the reason that I've taken this apart mostly was to grease the bearings, and these are seized right now. These star wheel adjusters I cannot turn, so I can't adjust the brakes. Makes for a sloppy pedal and not a fun driving experience. So while we're in here, there's a couple checks we're going to do. We're going to peel back this boot, and you can see there's some corrosion in there. These brakes aren't leaking per se, but they probably are due for a rebuild. It's actually nice to see they have boots. Sometimes the boots get deteriorated. to the point where there's just dust, nothing left. It's fairly clean in here, not leaking any oil. You will notice that there's a number on there that says 13/16. It's upside down. The sedans, the cars have 13/16, and the vans and trucks have 15/16. They're all very similar. These shoes are usable. They look original. They'll probably do okay. So we are going to take this apart and clean it up and work with it the best we can without rebuilding a bunch of stuff. I don't think we need to rebuild the wheel cylinders. We don't need to realign the shoes. We're going to repack the bearings. We are going to free up the star wheel adjusters, and we're going to put the springs back the way they should be, and that should make this car stop. We also need to inspect the brake hoses. They are 50 years old. I mean, they look okay. I don't see any big cracks, but they probably should be replaced. They usually crack near the ends. That's what I found. Let's go to the other side. There's something a little different about this. I'll show you. The speedometer is run off of the driver's side wheel. I've got this one apart already. And so this dust cap has a long stud on it with a forked tongue. And that goes into when the wheel is on and the dust cap is on, and engages with the, there it just went in, engages with the speedometer. So as this turns, we're actually spinning the speedometer right now, probably reverse. Here, now we're going 10 miles an hour and forwards. So that's how the speedometer works. There's a cable on the back side right here that runs up to the dash. Pretty ingenious. I will say a little more about Subaru 360 brakes, and that is that each wheel cylinder is different. You have a leading and a trailing, and they're different side to side. And the difference is in the back, there's a bleed screw and a input or a tube input. And these are correct. The bleed screw actually is supposed to be on the bottom, which is counterintuitive, but sometimes people get those mixed up. So for the most part, this car is actually doing all right. It's not leaking brakes. The wheels aren't seized. It needs a bit of maintenance, and we should be able to put this thing back on the road. These star wheel adjusters are also seized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pair of pliers, some locking pliers, probably like this, and I'm going to wiggle. If I can't, then I'm going to heat these up. They should free up. Oh boy. I'm going to have to get the torch out, I think, warm that up a little bit. They're really stuck. You don't want to damage parts. These cars are just too rare, and now they're becoming valuable. So that's our tip and trick for Subaru 360 front brakes for today. We'll be doing more in the future. I'm trying to do a series on brakes for these things because I'm getting so many calls, and these cars are getting a lot of attention. People need to know they're out there and how to fix them. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out my cute little Subaru project, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.